Hello, once again. David here at Etienne's Place. Um, Today we'll be looking at another module in our personal financial planning series. Today we'll be focusing on planning for college education. Planning for college education. Now, that is one aspect of the financial plan that unfortunately, yes, usually gets a back burner, is put on a back burner until it is just about time to go to college and then we're scrambling around. So today we want to look at planning for college education. Now I've said this before and I'll repeat it again. Quite a few of the things we're going to be mentioning here today are things that are really oversimplified in that they can be very technical, they can be very detailed, and if you are considering embarking on any of these strategies or tapping into any of these resources, then of course it's best that you speak to your advisor, your tax person, your consultant, your I don't know, your banker, whosoever it is. Okay, so this is strictly for general information, to as it were, pique your curiosity, make you be aware that there are options out there for funding college. And so you will now take the next step to go and get the details. As they say, the devil is always in the details. Okay? So be advised. Okay. Sometimes an adult may decide that he or she is returning to college, to university, because you may be dissatisfied with your current job, you're contemplating a career change, or you may have started a degree program some many moons back. For one reason or the next, did not complete it, and so you're now thinking, let me get back to college. So, if you're thinking of heading back to college as an adult, then the reality is that the planning that ought to have gone into preparing to go to college would not be there. Would not be there. So most of these things that we're going to be speaking on today are things that one would contemplate putting in place because you're planning and you're strategizing for maybe 10, 15 years down the road when your siblings, your child, your son, your daughter is getting ready to will be heading off to college, and so you're planning from now, which is present day, for that future event which will occur some 15, 10, 15 years down the road, depending on the age of the child. But college funding, the sources of college funding is vast, vast. So I'm always taken aback whenever I hear individuals scrambling around and wondering, boy, what do I do? How do I source funding options and opportunities for my child's education? Because there are so many avenues, so many things that one can tap into, towards this end. So today we just look at some are very basic, no brainers, some take a little more thinking through, and as I said before, you're advised to um, seek some qualified opinion on these matters. Now, the first thing I want to look at is home equity loan. Home equity loan. Home equity loan can be considered as one of the funding sources for college. If it is a case where you're contemplating going the home equity loan route as opposed to a regular loan, a regular bank loan. And the reason for this is a bank loan, naturally, the cost of the loan is the interest you pay on the loan. But the interest that you pay on a regular loan is not tax deductible. So if you're going to choose between going for a regular bank loan or having an home equity loan, I would say go for the home equity loan because you know that a home equity loan equates to a mortgage. We don't want to call it a second mortgage or whatever. And the interest that you pay on that mortgage loan is tax deductible. Good. So $20,000 home equity loan, whatever the interest is on that figure each year, you would have been able to deduct it on your tax returns. That same 20,000 as a regular bank loan carrying whatever interest, then that interest is not tax deductible. So if you're thinking of loan, home equity loan is really one of the way to go for for funding your dependents' college educations. The other thing one could consider is mutual funds. Mutual funds. Mutual funds are it's a vehicle that is there are a lot of advantages to mutual funds. Now, basically, you invest in this fund. As I said, remember now, I'm trying to keep it very, very simple because these things can get very technical. You invest in this fund, and over time, this fund would have earned for you some dividends. So every year, depending on what the performance of the fund, and of course the underlying securities that make up the fund, then you would have been entitled to dividends. Also, with the passing of time, year over year, this fund would have gained, and we call this capital gain, meaning that the value of the fund would have increased year over year. So you're getting two things from this mutual fund. You're getting your regular dividend, and you're also getting a capital gain distribution at the end of each year. So the advisable thing is, since you have invested in this mutual fund for the purpose of college education down the road, then it's advisable, therefore, that all dividends and capital gains ought to be reinvested. So you have the initial investment in the fund earned dividends, as dividend, and also have capital appreciation, we call it capital gain. And so the understanding is that you would then reinvest dividend and capital gain into this so that you have the effect of compounding return, so to speak. Now, it is true that one could never depend on the dividend and the capital gains from that fund to as it were, finance college education, unless it's a huge fund, But anyway, one would never think about it. However, if you have that fund for 10, 15 years, one would expect that at the end of the 10 or 15 years, that the value of the fund, the value of the securities, the shares, whatever that make up that fund, would have appreciated to an extent where the market value, what you could sell it for now being 10, 15 years later, is much more than what you had bought it for back then. So with this massive capital appreciation, one would hope that then you can sell the mutual fund like any other product, sell it at this increased value, and that will be your funding source for your college education, the college education of your daughter, your son, etc. So remember now, the mutual fund will earn dividends. Mutual fund will over time appreciate, and we call that capital gains. However, the dividend and capital gains together, admittedly, would not amount to a figure that could fund college education. But one would hope that with the dividend, the capital gains that you reinvest each year, you'd have been getting a little more income earnings over time. But at the end of the 10 or 15 years that you have had this fund, we would have expected that it would have increased in value to the point where when you sell, you would have made good money, so to speak, to be able, therefore, to assist significantly with college education. All right. Also remember too that when you take out this mutual fund, very important, you're taking out the mutual fund on behalf of your child. It's a fund on behalf of your child. Okay? Good. Now, if you hold this fund until the child is as past 18 years old, 18 years, then you're able, when you sell the fund, when you liquidate the fund, whatever tax implication on that liquidation of the fund, when you actually sell to get your money, then expectedly that it was a mutual fund taken out for the child, and if the fund now is sold once the child has passed 18, then we expect that it will be taxed because it's taxable. It will be taxed at the lower child tax rate, as opposed to your rate, which may be very high. But we're talking about capital gains tax. Okay, so that's another thing to consider. That one, it is a mutual fund taken out for the child, so it's a fund held, on behalf of son Tom, daughter Mary. It runs for 10 to 15 years, and then you liquidate it. And if it is sold when Tom or Mary has just passed 18 years, then it is likely that the gains, which is taxable, will be so taxed at the lower child tax rate as opposed to your rate as a parent. So that was the first one we looked at, was home equity loan, which we say is better off to go there because the interest on such a loan is tax deductible, as opposed to the interest on a regular bank loan not being tax deductible. And the second we looked at here is the buying shares in a mutual fund. Okay, that's two. Third, for those of us who are self-employed, or we have a business, you have a business, then you have the option of employing your children in your business. No, it cannot be anything significant like a big salary, whatever, but you can employ them. And two things about employing your child in your business. One, yes, you keep the salary within reason, and I will not quote a figure here. These are things that are specific that you need to consult with your knowledgeable persons on. But once you keep this salary reasonable for child employment, so to speak, then two things happen. That payment to child is tax deductible as a normal payout of the company. That's one benefit. Secondly, um, the money that you pay to the child, remember, the child lives at home, you're taking care of the child. So the money that the child earns as a salary, you're still going to open an account and place that money in the account as a savings toward as savings towards college education. So you're getting the write-off by paying out the salary on the business side. The money that is paid out to the child is really put in an account towards that future investment, or future funding rather, of your college education. Okay, good. So those are three relatively simple ones. Now we have what is referred to as prepaid tuition plan. Prepaid tuition plan. Quite a number of states have such a plan. It's called a prepaid tuition plan. Basically, what this is saying is you buy a bond, like a state bond. It's an education bond provided by the state. So you buy this bond at a certain price. Okay? The state will invest this bond in whatever securities, whatever they do, with the intention that it will earn money over time, so that the earnings will, as it were, close the gap between what you have paid for the bond, what your money you have put into the bond, compared to what will ultimately be the cost of college education 10, 15 years down the road. So that's the beauty of it. You buy this education bond, and you hold this bond, is paying a fixed rate of return, and it is invested by the government, and it will accrue over time, over the 10 or the 15 years. It will get some earnings that will then come to close the gap between what money you put in and what is the true cost of college education in that 10 to 15 years straight. Okay, so that is called a prepaid tuition plan. Um, this prepaid tuition plan is fully protected by the government, fully protected by the state. So the state assume what they call the risk of investment. All right. So that's a good way to go. You put your money there and you don't have to be worrying and okay, is it a typical investment where I may just wake up one day and hear that the market went bad and so no, that's not it. It's a bond, it's backed by the government, it is secured by the state government. They on the right, so to speak, all the risk. They are the ones who look about investing it in wherever they think fit so that it earns additional funds. That with those earnings added to your payments would hopefully equate to what the cost of college would be at that 10-15 year down the road thing. So that is called a prepaid tuition plan. Okay, prepaid tuition plan. One thing I need to make you be aware of whenever you undertake these investments or you tap into these plans and strategies to help to fund college education for your children, be aware that although those things are good, just be aware that going in that direction may jeopardize your child's qualifying for financial aid. Okay, because remember now that when you're going through the financial aid process, all funding sources, income of your child, income of parent, all those things coming, are put into the application process. So obviously if you have been very active in earning other income, then it's good, yes, but it could mean that your bid or your child's bid for financial aid would be compromised because you would not qualify, so to speak. You would not qualify for those things. But it's just a balancing act to see which is the better way to go under advisement. Remember now, under advisement. Okay. Um, the other two things that one needs to consider, one needs to consider and I think different states may have different rules. When you invest in this education bond, this government, this state education bond, you need to ascertain whether or not one, this can be used, the returns when at maturity can be used both for state colleges or private colleges. But it can be used for in-state colleges or out-of-state colleges. Because you don't want to reach the point where you want to go to a private college or an out of state college and you're told that, oh, yeah, but it is the state of so and so who issued the bond, who is giving you the benefit, and so you can only use it if you're going to the state college or the state university. You need to ascertain upfront whether or not that is used. Further to that, you want to ascertain whether or not your initial payment for the bond is refundable to you in the event that either your child is not accepted to college or your child may decide college is not my thing, because you have started the planning when the child is 2 3 years old or maybe younger. Maybe when the guy comes up and is 13 14 etc., he decide that this college thing is not for me, I want to go a different direction. So you want to ensure or to find out whether or not this education bond issued by the state in question is one such that it is not not the income earned on it, no, because the income earned on it, so to speak, is really for the purpose of education. But assuming that, as I said before, the child may decide, I don't want to college, etc., etc. You need to determine upfront whether or not your principal, your initial payout to invest in this bond is refundable to you. Okay, very important. So that was prepaid tuition plan. Prepaid tuition plan. Now, we said earlier on that some of these plans, some of these strategies that you may embark on, although good, very good, like everything else, there's a flip side to the coin, and so having amassed that amount of money or finances towards college education, it may jeopardize your chances of getting regular financial aid. We said that earlier on. Let's now move to the actual financial aid itself. Now, financial aid is wide and varied, and most college students, that is really where they go to. Why? Either because parents had not made the necessary plan, put the necessary plans in place at an early stage, or the child themselves came up, started to work, and just decide, okay, I'm just going to have fun. And then now it's time to go to college, and they realize that okay, I have no resources to really make that move. And so their first take is to head to the financial aid office at one one school or next. So we have financial aid, and with financial aid, it falls on the realm of the loans, outright loans, and then we have grants. So there are loans and there are grants. Of course, you try to get as much grant as possible because, by simple definition, the grant is something that is granted to you, and so the grant is something that is an assistance for your college education. We don't have to be vexing over it in terms of repayment and interest, etc., etc. The loan, on the other hand, is a loan. That's what it is. A loan to be repaid usually X time after graduation at X interest rate, whatever the case is. Okay. So financially, it will fall in the category of you receiving a scholarship, you receiving grants, you receiving loans. Now, grant, of course, as I said before, is money put aside to help people to embark on XYZ course of study. Scholarships, the same thing. It's just that scholarships are quite often institution specific, meaning that college A, college B, etc. Market, they are, don't get me wrong, they are general scholarships that are offered by organizations, by companies, etc., by government too. A lot of scholarships too may be offered directly by the college. So there are scholarships, there are grants, and of course there's the outright loans that you take, and the loans usually is the source of the headache. You hear the murmur long after graduation, 5, 10 years down the road after graduating, you're still contending with this loan balance that seems to, you know as if that looks as if it will be sticking around with you as a family member right up into your retirement years. So that is why all of this planning for college education is so important, and you should embark on it. Good. So that's financial aid. Now, if you notice, I'm just scanning over these things. Apart from financial aid, we have through the tax system, we have what is referred to as tax credits. Tax credits specifically designed, specifically established for educational purposes. Okay, we have the Hope Scholarship. The Hope Scholarship. You can always do your read up on what the Hope Scholarship is, but essentially, the Hope Scholarship will give you an education tax credit for up to $2,500. It doesn't guarantee that you get the full 25, but it caps at $2,500. That is the what we refer to as the Hope Scholarship. There's also the lifetime learning, right? The lifetime learning credit that you get. This one max out at $2,000. So the Hope Scholarship $2,500 max, and the lifetime learning credit maxes at $2,000. Now you are allowed to take both credits, both the Hope and the lifetime learning credits. You are allowed to take both. So you can qualify for the full $4,500, which is 2,500 on the Hope, 2,000 on the lifetime. However, however, both credits cannot be used to cover the same expense. So, simply put, if tuition is $1,500 and you say, okay, I want my Hope Scholarship to cover my tuition, then you can turn around and expect to get lifetime for the same tuition, lifetime credit for the same tuition. So both are available. You can access both. Okay. The only stipulation is that both credits cannot be applied to the same expense item. Okay. So those are the two major credits we have there under the education credit, which is the Hope credit, lifetime learning credit. Very, 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 very important. Um, Now let me go back a bit to two things that I mentioned earlier on. One was the prepaid tuition plan, and the other was what was investing in mutual funds, but more so for the prepaid tuition plan. Now, bear in mind, whenever you embark on an investment strategy, usually it is with the medium to long term in mind. We're talking about college education, so right now I would classify that as a medium, 10, 15 years, not 20, 25, 30, but say, yeah, medium to long, 10-ish, 15-year run for this plan. With the passing of time, there are changes in legislation. There are changes in tax laws. There are changes in tax rules. There are changes in a number of things that governs investment. I'm saying this to say, when you invest in these vehicles at the time, it may sound and seem to be the best thing to do. But then you need to, along with your advisor, be constantly monitoring the market, monitor the changes in the tax system, monitor, because what you had discovered to be the way to go initially, with the passing of time, with the changing in tax rules, tax laws, etc., you may find that, oh, what seemed to have been a good strategy 4 or 5 years ago may not necessarily be so now. And so I may need to shift my focus midstream, right? Very, very important to do that because you don't want to run down to 5, 10 years. And then when it comes to the day of reconciliation, so to speak, you're trying to liquidate and to get your funds to do whatever, you're told that, oh, well, 4 years ago, the Congress changed this and that law changed and the tax rate is that and the exemption is that and the ceiling is etc. So you want to keep on top of that because, as I said before, with the passing of time, rules change, tax laws change, etc. So very, very important to know that. Very important to know that. The last item that I'll look at is what is referred to as a 529 college savings plan. A lot of us may have heard about this. It's usually loosely called the 529 plan. Okay, and it's really a college savings plan. This 529 college savings plan is really a state sponsored plan. It's a state sponsored plan. Now, a couple of key things that you need to note. This plan is one that you will fund out of post tax dollars, meaning you cannot say to your employer, take out X dollars and put into this plan for me before you tax my salary as you do for 401, 401k, etc. So you first have to have your salary run through the regular tax mill. Then when you get your net pay, your after tax pay, then you're advised to take some of your money and invest it into this 529 college savings plan. So basically, you're using post tax money to put into the plan. Now, some states as an added incentive, will say, okay, since you're taking $800, $400 each month and putting it into this plan, I am going to do you a favor. I'm going to give you an additional benefit by allowing you to deduct part of that contribution to the 529 plan as a write-off on your state tax returns. I'll repeat, some states will decide to give you an added benefit by allowing you to take a tax write-off of a portion of the money of your post-tax money that you put in that 529 college savings plan. Right? That's an additional benefit. Good. Going back to the rudiments of this plan, we first said that it's a state-sponsored plan, and it's also referred to as a tax advantage savings plan. Basically, it is saying you save in this plan. This plan will earn money over time. Again, let's use our 5, 10, 15 years because you actually have education in mind. That's really what it's there for. And so all the earnings of such a plan or such a 529 plan goes go throughout those years as a tax advantage plan, meaning that all those earnings are not taxed. Now, the plan will be earning and the plan will be growing. Earning now is just the returns on the plan. The growth is the increase in value of the plan over time. Okay? So now, at the end of that 5 to 10 years, when you're ready for the money to fund college, you're going to be pulling the funds for that purpose. So what you're pulling is your money that you put in there, which remember was after you were taxed. So no additional tax can be levied, so to speak, on the original money that you put each year after year or month after month. Because you were already taxed before you, it is your after tax money that you put into this plan. So they can turn around and tax it again. But apart from the money that you put in the plan, we said that the plan would have earned interest, dividend, whatever, and the plan would also have grown. We call that like a capital growth. So when you're ready to liquidate your plan, you're basically getting a sum of money that has three components. My money that I put in there month after month, year over year, income earned by the plan through interest, dividend, whatever the case is, and then the growth in the value of the plan based on market conditions, etc., the underlying securities, how they move. Normally, any interest earned and any capital gain would now be taxable once you talk about liquidating. But the good thing about this plan, this 529 plan, because it was set up for college education, once it is liquidated for the purpose of college education, because that's what it was set up for, then all of that is given to you for college purpose, free of taxes. That is why it's referred to a tax advantage savings plan, and it says that this plan include, as a tax deferred growth and federal income tax-free withdrawal. Federal income tax-free withdrawal when used for qualified educational expenses. So 529 plan is a very, very good plan. Very good plan, especially if you embark on it pretty early. Pretty early if your child is, just born. Some families will be quick out of the blocks for the moment they're thinking of having a family. Once child is here, baby boy is here, baby girl is here, they would have started that plan. But usually you want to have such a plan that can run you a good, say, 10, 15 years thereabout before you have to liquidate for college purpose. So just to reiterate what I said about the plan, it's a state sponsored, right, tax advantage plan where on distribution on distribution for funding your college education of dependents, then all of that money you get from liquidating the fund is tax free once you're using the money for what was intended, which is for the funding of college education. Good. Now, I said before that there are a number of things, number of avenues, number of strategies, number of instruments that can be looked at. But I thought that I would just pick out a few of these. If you notice, the earlier items I mentioned were pretty straightforward because most families are homeowners. They can quickly go and find out what equity do I have in my home. And based on that, they can decide, okay, I'm going for a home equity loan. A lot of families also, through their bank, etc., can quickly look into taking out some mutual fund and very very easy to execute if you want to go the mutual fund route. And then, of course, for some individuals who are business owners, then employing your children in your business so that you get the write-off of the salary payment and you also take that payment to the child and put away in savings. All of that is definitely beneficial and contributes to someone. Now, no, well, I would say if you can have a plan that has components of two, three, or four of these things that I mentioned, you should be good to go. Because each item, each component, each plan will contribute somewhat, somehow to the overall planning for education. But I'll leave you with this one last thing, one last reminder. Remember now, once you embark on this proactive move of putting in place the necessary funding for college education for your children, then remember that you may disqualify yourself from regular financial aid through the government because when it comes to you qualifying, then you may find that your income, your available resources that you have is such that it disqualifies you from regular financial aid because those financial aids were really meant for um, persons who really find that that is the only source of me getting a college education for my children. Okay, good. All right. So once again, we have completed another module and we just looked at planning for college education. There's a lot more to this, but do your research and start investigating early so that you're in the know-how. Baby boy, baby girl will not have to be strapped with massive student loans that is dragging them into their retirement years just because you failed to do some foreplanning towards your children's college education. Good. Well, don't think I'll see you again before Christmas proper. So I wish for you all, my friends, my associates, my clients, a merry, safe Christmas. Enjoy friends, enjoy family. Give thanks for another year that we have seen, that have ended and have seen us on this side of life. And I hope and wish for you that when we regroup in the new year, that we'll come refreshed, renewed, reinvigorated, and ready to go. God bless. It has been a wonderful year, and I look forward to spending 2020 and beyond with you. Bye, and God bless.